So what was your immediate reaction when Maïwenn said, please come and play Louis XV?
The first thing that hits you is like the challenge. You know, instant sort of like, there's a spark, there's an interest because there's a great challenge in that. Then your brain kicks in. I mean, this is a guy who was the king of France. Perhaps a French actor should play the part, you know. And I said that to Maïwenn when we spoke. But again, like, I thought she was very brave to have come to me with the idea.
So what kind of, once you said yes, what kind of research did you do into Louis? Because I'm assuming you did more than just read the script.
Yeah, a little bit. I, of course, you know, picked up whatever material there was in the guy biographies. And one thing I found, the interesting thing I found in the biographies is that a lot of the information about him is almost like a chatty conversation between two people when you're a teenager. Like these sort of biographers kind of saying, no, this happened, no, this happened, no, that kind of thing. So, I mean, I took what appeared to be consistent. I also, then it kind of hit me, the notion of being king at 12, basically. With all these people around you and having been conditioned, it's a very odd way for a human being to grow up. And I thought, because he's trained to be one way with, let's say, a visiting, emissary, like a king or whatever, and then he has to be this way with his court or his senate or whatever. To me, it was like, in a sense, it was like he had to, learn 11 different personalities, and the last one that was available to him really was his private life.
So history hasn't always painted Jeanne du Barry kindly, I think that's fair to say.
Very true.
But this film portrays her as smart and sexy, and it's almost a kind of recalibration of the character. Why do you think Louis was so infatuated with her?
In a way, she was sort of conditioned to survive the only way she had been taught, really. Even though she had been somewhat experienced, from what I have read, from what I've sort of located, there was something about her, like he saw some strange innocence. She didn't cut corners or edit much. She was pretty straight with him. And I think that was probably very refreshing for a guy who's surrounded by people who are paid to tell him how great he is all the time. You know? So I think she was a very different species than he'd really ever had the opportunity to experience.
So can you talk about working with Maïwenn? You've directed and starred in a film before. You know how
accidentally, yeah.
You know how challenging that is. What was your working relationship with her?
Now, like, once you're in the trenches and you're shooting the thing, I think it can be very difficult for the writer, director, and star of the film to deal with changes, at times. So, yeah, we, disagreed here and there, but that, I mean, the process is the process. So that will always kind of arrive, or maybe the complete opposite with a filmmaker, where you can't stop laughing at each other. But so there were times when, you know, we would have to talk the thing out. But you know, for me, ultimately, like, I wouldn't have done the film if I didn't think that I had something to offer. That's the only reason to do a film.
I was going to ask you how you approach playing Louis, because it's a really beautifully restrained performance, almost sort of taciturn. And I think you drew inspiration, as you have in the past, from a lot of silent movie actors that you admire. So can you just talk about how you portrayed him?
Well, what I wanted to do with him was, again, you know, I wanted to try to be able to show those facets of the individual, not the king, but the individual. Then you start thinking less about him as the King of France, and that's really when, for me, I started to understand the character.
But in terms of your kind of mannerisms, because, you know, there's a real hint of mischief to him and a playful nature to the character.
Well, I think for someone in that position, and again, I mean, some of this, you know, some of this stuff, it resonates for me. Not that I'm a king of any sort, but it resonates just in a sense that this guy, within his circle, let's say, within his world, he had to be available, kind of at all times, and yet he was, well, you know, in a sense, hidden away and living his life that way. So, you know, the layers between him and the real world, you know, they start to get thicker and weirder, you know. So it has been something like that for me at times, just in a sense that, you know, I certainly wouldn't complain about it ever, but there is a part of you that is kind of cut off, you know, from the world. You know, if you go out, it gets weird, you know, it just gets weird.
I mean, actors always say, I think you've said to me in the past, that you really find the character when you put the clothes on and you put the hair on, and so was it a similar thing with this?
Yeah, you have your idea of the character, your image of the character in your mind, all that. But you don't really get to fully feel the character until you're in his skin, as it were, you know, in the costume, because the costume also dictates how you stand, how you move, you know.
So Louis' introduction is, I think, in the Hall of Mirrors.
Yes.
Where you're kind of seen at a distance and you walk through, and it's a brilliant kind of intro to the character.
It's crazy. It was crazy walking into that place, because you're walking past the bed that Louis XV was born in, just to your right-hand side before you go into the Hall of Mirrors. When I turned the corner to go into the Hall of Mirrors, I saw like 250 extras decked in, like, you know, satin gowns, mad, you know, wigs, and it was instant time travel for a moment. Yeah.
It looks gorgeous. It's very sumptuous. It reminded me of Barry Lyndon in a way, Kubrick's Barry Lyndon.
Barry Lyndon is kind of what I felt at times while we were shooting certain scenes, and you know, I wish in a way that I weren't in the film, just so that I could see everyone's work, you know, but especially Laurent, the DP, Dayon, Laurent Dayon. He was brilliant. He was brilliant. He looked at the scenes very. I think he looked at things kind of classically, and then kind of went against his instinct in a sense. You know, he was very. It was very brave. Some of the lighting was very brave. You know, some of the firelit stuff, some of the darker imagery. He was very brave, and you know, he was amazing. That guy. Here's what I believe. I believe that Maïwenn's passion and you know, dedication to her vision of Jeanne du Barry and the performances that were available to her, let alone her own. I knew that she was walking away with good material, you know. So I trust. I have no doubt that she made the film that she wanted to make. That and I don't know if anybody is ever satisfied. I don't know, but at the very least, if she got to make the film that she wanted to make and she's happy with it, then no, I think she did something very, very special. It was it was one of those times that you understand that it's not many opportunities to be in that kind of situation.